On Asteria 9, a human colony far from Earth, life moved slowly. Farmers harvested crops under two suns. Children ran through narrow streets. Traders bargained in the markets. It was a normal evening, quiet and peaceful, the kind of night when nobody expected trouble. But far above the planet, something was coming. At first, it was only a faint signal, a strange reading on the edge of the colony's scanners. A bored technician leaned closer to his screen. The blip appeared, then disappeared. He frowned. Probably a glitch, he thought. Out here, sensors often picked up dust storms or passing meteors. Then the blip returned. This time there were 10 of them, then 20. The technician's face turned pale. "Commander, you need to see this," he said. The commander stepped over, eyes narrowing as he read the data. "No IDs? No communication signals?" "Nothing, sir. They're just coming straight toward us." The commander reached for the comms. His voice stayed calm, but inside, unease coiled like a snake. "Alert the defense posts, and someone get a message to Earth Command. Now." But it was already too late. The sky split open. Out of the upper atmosphere came a fleet of ships, black and sharp-edged, shaped like knives cutting through the stars. They didn't look like any design humanity had ever seen. No banners, no signals of peace. Only silent machines of war moving with terrifying precision. The first explosions hit the outer settlements before anyone could react. Fire erupted in the night as entire blocks vanished under plasma strikes. The power grid collapsed. Streets filled with smoke and screams. The attackers didn't speak at first. They simply destroyed. People ran in every direction. A father shielded his little boy as debris crashed around them. A doctor grabbed wounded civilians, dragging them toward the only hospital still standing, until a blast reduced it to rubble before their eyes. The colony's few defense fighters launched from the spaceport, engines roaring as they raced into the sky. But the enemy ships moved too fast. One by one, the fighters vanished in bright fireballs before they even reached orbit. Then, for the first time, the invaders spoke. Across every surviving screen and loudspeaker, a cold mechanical voice echoed. "Humans of Asteria 9, you belong to the Zoltrax Dominion now. Do not resist. This world is ours. Your deaths will be a warning to the galaxy." The message ended, and the slaughter grew worse. Columns of enemy troops descended from the ships, tall creatures with armored skin and burning red eyes. Their weapons cut through metal walls as easily as paper. They moved through the streets, methodical and merciless, shooting anyone who resisted. A young woman fell to her knees, begging for her children's lives. The alien soldier didn't even hesitate. By midnight, entire districts were ash. Somewhere in the ruins, a small group of miners tried to fight back with old rifles and mining lasers. They took down one alien soldier before a plasma strike burned them all where they stood. Nothing could stop the attackers. Far across space, the news reached Earth Command. Generals gathered in silence around a giant holoscreen showing Asteria 9 burning. Buildings collapsed. Families screamed. Alien soldiers marched through the smoke like demons from an old nightmare. One general slammed his fist on the table. "Who are they? Where did they come from?" No one answered. Another officer whispered, almost afraid of his own words. "They called themselves the Zoltrax Dominion." The room fell silent. Back on Asteria 9, survivors were rounded up in the main square. The alien leader, a towering figure with armor like black stone, stood before the cameras. His voice was cold, empty of emotion. "Humans," he said, "this is mercy. Some of you will live to tell the story. Tell them we came. Tell them we crushed you. Tell them this galaxy now belongs to us." With that, the alien fleet rose back into the sky, leaving behind only ruins, fire, and silence. Among the wreckage, a little girl clutched her mother's hand, staring upward. Her voice was small, trembling. "Mom, will they come back?" Her mother didn't answer. She had no words left. What none of them knew, not the survivors, not even the aliens leaving in triumph, was that this attack would awaken something in humanity that had been sleeping for centuries. And for the Zoltrax Dominion, it would be the last mistake they ever made. Far from the burning colony of Asteria 9, on the great station of Orion Prime, the Galactic Council gathered. The council hall was a massive place, shaped like a ring with windows showing the endless stars outside. Here, leaders of different alien civilizations met to talk about trade, peace, and the future of the galaxy. For hundreds of years, it had been a place of calm debate and careful diplomacy. But tonight, fear hung over the chamber like a dark cloud. The attack on Asteria 9 had shocked everyone. Holoscreens replayed the same terrifying images. The Black Fleet, the burning cities, the alien soldiers marching through fire and smoke. The council members watched in silence as screams and explosions echoed through the recordings. When the footage ended, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the representative of the Solari, a thin creature with silver skin and bright blue eyes, broke the silence. "We have to be careful," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "The Zoltrax Dominion is powerful. If we provoke them, they might attack again. They might come for all of us." Across the room, the Targoth leader slammed his fist on the table. His species had faces like armored lizards, eyes burning with fire. "Careful? They destroyed a human colony without warning. We sit here talking while they grow stronger? We should unite and crush them before it's too late." The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some agreed with the Targoth leader. Others shouted for caution. A few demanded peace talks with the Zoltrax Dominion, hoping diplomacy could stop the war before it consumed the galaxy. But while the aliens argued, the humans in the room stayed silent. Admiral Kane, the highest human officer present, stood near the edge of the chamber, arms crossed. His face was calm, unreadable. Beside him, Ambassador Lee, the human diplomat, watched the debate with cold eyes. Neither spoke a single word. Finally, the council leader, an ancient being whose species lived for thousands of years, raised his hand. The chamber fell silent. "We ask the humans," the leader said slowly, his voice echoing across the hall. "What will Earth do now?" All eyes turned to the human delegation. Ambassador Lee stepped forward. He was a tall man with dark eyes and a voice as steady as stone. He looked at each alien leader before speaking. "On Asteria 9, he said softly, "our children burned. Our people begged for mercy. None was given." The room stayed silent. "The Zoltrax Dominion thinks humanity is weak," Lee continued. "They believe we will hide behind treaties, behind councils, behind fear." His voice grew sharper. "But they have made a mistake. A very big mistake." One of the alien leaders, a feathered creature from the Vayari Republic, leaned forward nervously. "What do you mean, Ambassador? What will your people do?" Lee didn't answer directly. He only said one sentence. "Tell the Zoltrax Dominion this. Humanity has been patient for centuries. But patience has limits." The aliens looked at each other in unease. They all knew humanity had advanced quickly in the last 100 years. But the humans had always kept the size of their fleets, their secret weapons, and their true strength hidden from the galaxy. The council leader spoke again, his voice slow and careful. "Ambassador, are you declaring war?" Lee looked at him calmly. "We didn't declare this war. The Zoltrax Dominion did. We will simply answer them." The Targoth leader grinned, showing sharp teeth. He liked war. He liked humans even more now. But others in the room shifted nervously. The Solari representative spoke again, voice shaking. "If you fight the Zoltrax, you will drag the whole galaxy into chaos. Billions will die." Admiral Kane finally spoke, his deep voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Billions have already died," he said. "And the Zoltrax should pray that the galaxy never sees what lies in humanity's darkest shipyards." The words sent a chill through the room. The council leader leaned forward slowly. "And what lies in those shipyards, Admiral?" Kane's eyes were like cold steel. "The reason Earth has never been invaded," he said simply. He turned and walked out, Lee following behind him. The human delegation left the chamber in silence, leaving the alien leaders whispering nervously among themselves. Everyone felt the same thing but didn't dare to say it out loud. The galaxy had just seen humans bleed, and soon it would see humans angry. Long before the attack on Asteria 9, people in the galaxy whispered stories about a secret human fleet. They called it the Black Armada. Some said it was only a myth, a bedtime story told by smugglers and traders. Others swore they saw strange ships near the edge of human space, ships that disappeared before anyone could follow them. No one had proof. No one knew the truth. But now, after the destruction of Asteria 9, the whispers grew louder. In dark taverns on mining stations, pilots told tales of a fleet hidden deep under Earth's oceans. In secret shipyards under the ice of Europa and Titan, they said the ships had weapons so powerful they could split a planet in half. They said the fleet was built after the First Galactic War, waiting for the day humanity would need it. Most aliens didn't believe the stories. They laughed and said humans like drama, like to scare people with their mystery fleet. But those who had seen human wars before, they didn't laugh. On the Zoltrax homeworld, the High Commander of the Dominion received reports about the council meeting. His advisors told him humans had stayed silent at first but left with threats in their voices. The High Commander wasn't worried. Humans bark like small animals before they are crushed, he said coldly. They have no weapons that can match us. Their fleets are small. Their ships are weak. We will break them as we broke Asteria 9. But one of his spies, a thin alien with nervous eyes, spoke carefully. There are rumors, Supreme Commander, about a hidden human fleet. They call it the Black Armada. The High Commander laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. Stories for children, he said. Do you think humans hide fleets under their oceans like fish? They are not so clever. The spy stayed silent. He had seen things the High Commander had not. He had seen wreckage from old battles where human weapons left nothing but blackened dust behind. But he valued his life too much to argue. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of the solar system, inside a secret base under the frozen surface of Europa, the ice moon of Jupiter, doors older than a century began to open. Deep tunnels lit up one by one as giant machines moved. Workers in black uniforms hurried through the massive hangars, checking systems that had slept for decades. And there, in the darkness, the Black Armada began to wake. They were not like normal warships. Each was the size of a city, armored with metal unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Their hulls were covered in dark plating that swallowed light. Some had strange triangular shapes, others long, sleek bodies like hunting beasts. On their sides were names written in bold white letters. HSS Vengeance, HSS Iron Fist, HSS Nightfall, the largest of them all, hidden in the deepest dock, bore a name that sent chills down the spine of even the human workers who built it. HSS Retribution. The fleet had slept for more than 100 years. Now, as alarms echoed through the base, their engines began to glow. Back in alien space, rumors spread like wildfire. A Vayari trader claimed he saw a black ship appear near his convoy. It didn't attack. It just hovered in the distance, watching, before vanishing into hyperspace without a trace. A mining crew on a lonely asteroid swore a fleet passed through the dark side of the system without showing on any scanners. Most people didn't believe them, but the Zoltrax Dominion spies began to hear the same word again and again. Retribution. The High Commander grew impatient. Even if they have this so-called fleet, he told his generals, it will not save them. We will crush Earth the way we crushed their colony. The humans will beg for mercy before we are done. But far away, in the secret control rooms of Earth, human generals watched the same recordings of Asteria 9 burning. They didn't speak. They didn't shout. Finally, the Supreme Admiral gave the order no one had heard in a century. Wake the Black Armada. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy felt something it hadn't felt in centuries. Not fear of the Zoltrax. Fear of what the humans were about to unleash. And in the silent shipyards under ice and ocean, engines roared to life as the Black Armada prepared to rise from the shadows. The day of reckoning was coming. And the Zoltrax Dominion had no idea what was waiting for them. The Zoltrax Dominion celebrated the fall of Asteria 9 as if they had already won the war. In the capital city of Korath Prime, banners hung in the streets. Soldiers marched through the plazas while citizens cheered. To them, humans were just another weak species, good only for labor and tribute. The destruction of a single colony was a warning to the entire galaxy. No one, they believed, could stand against the Dominion. But far away, deep in the halls of Earth's command centers, something dark and quiet was moving. The Black Armada had awakened, and humanity's leaders prepared their next step. It began not with a battle, but with a single man. The Zoltrax High Council met in their grand chamber, a towering building made of black stone and silver metal. The High Commander sat on a throne carved from meteor rock, surrounded by his generals and ministers. They laughed and argued about what to conquer next. Then the doors opened. A single human walked inside. He wore no armor, carried no weapon, just a simple black suit, dusty from travel. The guards aimed their weapons at him instantly, but the High Commander raised his hand. "Let him speak," he ordered. The human ambassador walked forward calmly, his steps echoing through the silent hall. He looked like a man carrying a storm in his heart. The High Commander leaned back on his throne, smirking. "So," he said in his cold, sharp voice, "Earth finally sends someone to beg for mercy?" The ambassador stopped in the center of the hall. He looked at the faces around him, the generals, the counselors, the arrogant leaders who believed they owned the galaxy. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. "You have made a mistake." The High Commander laughed. "A mistake? We crushed your colony in hours. Your fleets stayed hidden like frightened animals. What mistake do you speak of, human?" The ambassador's eyes were hard as steel. "You think you destroyed Asteria 9. But what you really destroyed was your future." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably. There was something in the human's voice that did not sound like defeat. The High Commander growled. "You come here with no army, no fleet, no power, and you threaten us?" "I come here with a warning," the ambassador said softly. "Leave human space. Never attack us again, or there will be no more Zoltrax dominion." The hall went silent. For a moment, even the arrogant generals stopped smiling. Then the High Commander burst into laughter. Harsh, cruel laughter that echoed through the chamber. "You dare threaten us? You think your tiny fleets can fight the Dominion?" The ambassador didn't blink. "You have never seen what waits in the dark," he said. "You have no idea what you've awakened." The High Commander slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. "Enough! Get out of my sight before I have you executed." The human turned to leave, but before stepping through the door, he said one last thing. "When the Black Armada comes, remember this moment. Remember that you were warned." And then he was gone. That night, above Korath Prime, something strange happened. Zoltrax defense stations detected dozens of unidentified signals in orbit. No one saw the ships arrive. They were just there, silent and dark, like ghosts in the sky. The stations tried to scan them but got nothing. No engine trails, no heat signatures. It was as if the ships weren't even real. Then, just as suddenly, the signals vanished. Zoltrax generals panicked. "Are the humans spying on us? How did they get ships past our defenses?" But the High Commander dismissed their fears. "Tricks and shadows," he said. "Let them come. We will burn their Earth the way we burned their colony." Yet in the streets below, the people whispered nervously. Some swore they saw black shapes blotting out the stars. One merchant told his neighbors, "I saw a ship so big it covered the whole moon. Then it disappeared." Others laughed at him, but in their hearts unease began to grow. Back on Earth, the Supreme Admiral stood before a giant holomap showing Zoltrax territory. Red marks glowed over their worlds, their fleets, their shipyards. "All targets confirmed," a commander reported. The Admiral nodded slowly. "Send the fleet," he said. And far below Earth's oceans, far beneath the ice of Europa and Titan, the Black Armada began to rise from the shadows. The warning had been given. Now came the reckoning. The stars above Zoltrax space were calm the night the Black Armada arrived. One moment the sky was empty. The next, Hundreds of dark shapes dropped out of hyperspace without a sound. No bright lights, no engine trails. Only shadows, giant, silent, terrifying shadows that blotted out the stars. Zoltrax scouts were the first to see them. At first, they thought it was a glitch on their scanners. No ships could appear this close without warning. Then the scanners lit up with hundreds of signals. The Black Armada had come. On the bridge of the HSS Retribution, the largest ship in the fleet, Admiral Kane stood with his arms crossed. The ship was so big that entire cities could fit inside its armored hull. Its main cannon could split a battleship in half with a single shot. All ships in position, a young officer reported. Kane's voice was calm, cold. Target every Zoltrax fleet in this sector. Leave no survivors. The order went out. On Korath Prime, alarms screamed across the planet as the Zoltrax Dominion scrambled to respond. The High Commander stared at the sky through the windows of his palace. "What are those ships?" he demanded. "Human warships," a terrified officer said. "But they are far bigger than anything we have ever seen," the High Commander snarled. "Destroy them." Zoltrax fleets launched from shipyards across the planet. Hundreds of destroyers, cruisers, and battleships rose into the sky, weapons glowing with energy. The Black Armada didn't move. It simply waited. Then Admiral Kane gave the command. Fire! The night turned to day. Beams of pure energy cut through the darkness. Missiles streaked across the void, faster than light, slamming into Zoltrax ships before they could even fire back. Entire cruisers vanished in silent explosions, breaking apart like toys. The Zoltrax returned fire, but their weapons hit only empty space. The Black Armada moved like hunters. Fast, precise, unstoppable. One Zoltrax admiral shouted into his comms. "Their shields? Nothing is getting through. Nothing is hurting them." On the Retribution, Admiral Kane watched as red enemy markers vanished one by one from the holomap. His voice stayed calm. "Keep firing. No mercy." Below, on the streets of Korath Prime, the people stared at the sky in horror. They had celebrated the destruction of Asteria 9. They had cheered when the Dominion promised the galaxy belonged to them. Now, their fleets burned above their own planet. A mother clutched her child as flaming debris rained down from the heavens. Soldiers ran through the streets, shouting orders, but everyone knew it was hopeless. For the first time in centuries, the Zoltrax Dominion was losing a war. One by one, the Black Armada targeted the Dominion's shipyards, power plants, and weapon stations. Massive explosions lit up the night as entire factories vanished in fire. On the bridge of a Zoltrax battleship, a desperate officer shouted, "We need reinforcements. We!" The screen went black as the Retribution's main cannon cut the battleship in half. Admiral Kane gave his next command. "Begin planetary strikes." The Black Armada unleashed its full power. Orbital cannons pounded military bases. Missile swarms hit command centers. Zoltrax troops on the ground scattered in panic as the sky itself seemed to fall on them. But the humans were not targeting civilians. Their strikes were cold, calculated. They destroyed the Dominion's armies, its fleets, its rulers, everything that gave it power. On the palace balcony, the High Commander watched his empire burn. His hands shook with rage and fear. This is impossible," he whispered. "No one is this strong. No one." But deep inside, he knew the truth. The humans had been patient for centuries. Too patient. And now, all that patience had turned into fire raining from the sky. In the council chamber on Earth, the Supreme Admiral received the battle reports. Enemy fleets destroyed. Shipyards destroyed. Minimal human losses, a commander said. The Admiral nodded once. "Continue the operation. No retreat until the Dominion surrenders or burns." Across the galaxy, people watched in silence as the war unfolded. Every holoscreen showed the same thing. The once mighty Zoltrax Dominion collapsing under the fury of the Black Armada. And everyone understood one thing very clearly. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was wrath. The war that the Zoltrax Dominion started was ending faster than anyone expected. But not in their favor. What began with fire on Asteria 9 had turned into fire across their entire empire. City after city, fleet after fleet, the Black Armada tore through the Dominion like a storm made of steel and vengeance. Their weapons were precise, their strikes cold and merciless. No one had seen war like this in centuries, and everywhere the Armada went, the same message followed. This is the price of angering humanity. On Korath Prime, the High Commander sat in his war room, staring at the glowing maps on the table. Red lights marked the Dominion's fleets. One by one, those lights were going out. Reports came in every minute. Third Fleet destroyed over Vexra Station. Fortress Moon of Larik has fallen. 7 shipyards gone in the last hour. The High Commander slammed his fist on the table. How? How do they have this power? He roared. None of his generals answered. One finally spoke in a trembling voice. Supreme Commander, they call it the Black Armada. Some say it was built in secret for 100 years. Some say it has weapons from before the First Galactic War. Whatever it is, we cannot stop it. The High Commander's hands shook with rage. We are the Dominion. We cannot lose. But even as he shouted, he knew the truth. They were already losing. Above the Dominion's capital, the Black Armada moved like shadows of death. The HSS Retribution, the largest ship in the fleet, floated at the center, silent and unstoppable. Inside its command bridge, Admiral Kane watched the enemy defenses crumble. His voice stayed calm, almost cold. Send in ground forces, he ordered. Moments later, dropships screamed through the atmosphere, carrying human soldiers in black armor. They landed across the planet with precision, hitting military bases, command centers, and weapon silos. The Zoltrax soldiers fought fiercely, but they were disorganized, terrified. Every human strike cut deeper into their defenses. Cities that once belonged to the Dominion were falling one after another. In the capital streets, the citizens of the Dominion watched in shock as human troops marched through their city. They had believed the Dominion was invincible. They had believed no one could defeat their fleets. Now enemy banners burned above their tallest towers. A woman clutched her child, whispering, "The humans. They came like ghosts, like demons out of the dark." But the humans did not harm civilians. They did not destroy homes or schools. They only targeted soldiers, weapons, and leaders. It was war, but a war with purpose. At the palace, the High Commander prepared his last defenses. Dozens of tanks, cannons, and soldiers surrounded the black fortress walls. He stood in his armor, holding a plasma rifle, his red eyes burning with hatred. "We will fight until the last breath," he told his generals. But even as he said it, he heard the distant thunder of human artillery, and it was getting closer. Then the sky above the palace turned white. The HSS Retribution had arrived. Its massive shadow swallowed the palace grounds. Its main cannon glowed like a small sun. The High Commander stared upward, his mouth dry. For the first time in his life, he felt something strange. Fear. Human dropships landed around the palace in waves. Soldiers poured out, black armor shining in the firelight. Their movements were silent, precise, unstoppable. The palace walls shook as explosions ripped through the outer defenses. One by one, the Dominion soldiers fell. Tanks burned. Cannons shattered. Finally, human troops stormed the palace gates. The High Commander fought fiercely, cutting down 3 soldiers with his plasma rifle before a blast threw him to the ground. As smoke filled the hall, Admiral Kane himself walked through the shattered doors. His black armor carried the emblem of Earth. The High Commander tried to stand, his voice shaking with rage. "You humans! You dare come here!" Kane raised his sidearm and fired once. The High Commander fell without another word. Across the Dominion, the same scene repeated. Planetary governors surrendered. Military leaders laid down their weapons. Entire fleets stopped fighting and sent desperate signals begging for peace. The Dominion, once the terror of the galaxy, was collapsing like a dying star. On every world, the people watched human banners rise where Dominion flags once flew. The message was clear. The war was over. But Admiral Kane gave no speeches, no victory celebrations. He stood on the balcony of the captured palace, looking over the burning city. "This is not revenge," he said quietly to his officers. "This is justice, and it is not finished yet." Because one final decision still waited for humanity. What would they do with the Dominion now that it had fallen? The war was over. The Zoltrax Dominion, once feared across the stars, now lay broken. Their fleets were gone. Their cities burned. Their leaders were dead or prisoners. But the galaxy was not celebrating. It was silent. From the great trade worlds of the Solari Republic to the ice colonies of the Veari, no one spoke loudly anymore. No one mocked humans. No one questioned their strength. Because the entire galaxy had just witnessed what happened when humanity was pushed too far. And no one wanted to be next. On Korath Prime, smoke still rose from the ruins of the capital. The Great Palace, once the pride of the Dominion, now flew Earth's banner. Human soldiers moved through the streets, not as conquerors, but as silent guardians. Admiral Kane stood in the palace war room, surrounded by maps showing the entire Dominion territory. His officers waited for orders. "The enemy fleets have surrendered," one reported. "Their governors want peace." Kane nodded slowly. His face was hard, unreadable. "Send them terms," he said. The terms were simple. The Dominion would disarm completely. Every world they had enslaved would be freed. Their remaining leaders would face justice for war crimes. There would be no negotiation. Humanity was not asking. Humanity was giving orders. In the streets below, the people of Korath Prime moved in stunned silence. For generations, they had believed the Dominion was invincible. Children were taught that the Zoltrax ruled by divine right, that no power in the galaxy could ever defeat them. Now those same children watched human soldiers march through their cities. But the humans didn't act like the Dominion's armies. They didn't loot homes or punish civilians. They brought food, water, and medicine. They treated the wounded, Zoltrax and human alike. Slowly, the people began to understand. This was not conquest. This was justice. Far across the stars, the Galactic Council met once again. The alien leaders who had once argued for caution now sat in silence, watching reports of the Black Armada's campaign. Entire Dominion fleets destroyed. Fortresses turned to dust. Worlds liberated. Finally, the council leader spoke in a trembling voice. "The humans, they have ended the Dominion in less than a month." The Solari representative whispered, "What kind of weapons do they have? How did they build ships like that in secret?" No one answered, because deep inside, they all feared the same thing. If humanity could destroy the Dominion so easily, what else were they capable of? Back on Earth, the Supreme Admiral gave his final order to the Black Armada. "Stand down. Return to base." One by one, the massive ships left Dominion space, vanishing into hyperspace like shadows slipping away before dawn. The last to leave was the HSS Retribution. Its black hull still carried the scorch marks of battle, but its engines burned steady and strong as it turned toward home. For the first time since the attack on Asteria 9, the galaxy saw the human fleet fall silent again, returning to whatever dark shipyards had birthed it. On Korath Prime, Admiral Kane stood on the palace balcony, looking over the city. The war was over, but his face held no triumph, only a cold, heavy calm. A young officer approached. "Sir, the Dominion is finished. What message should we send to the galaxy?" Kane thought for a moment before speaking. "Tell them humanity does not seek war," he said softly. "But if anyone brings war to our people again, the Black Armada will return." The officer nodded, transmitting the message across the stars. In the weeks that followed, the freed worlds celebrated. The Dominion's chains were broken. Entire species once enslaved now raised their flags of freedom. But no one forgot the terrible speed, the unstoppable power, with which humanity had brought the Dominion to its knees. On distant planets, parents warned their children in hushed voices. Never anger the humans. Never wake the Black Armada. Months later, traders spoke of strange things at the edges of space. Massive shipyards going dark again, black warships sinking back under the oceans of Earth, vanishing beneath the ice of distant moons. The Black Armada was returning to sleep, but its shadow remained, and so the galaxy stayed silent, not out of peace, but out of fear, because everyone knew the story now. The last species that made humans angry no longer existed, and no one wanted to be next.